Welcome to my show. I'm a guest here. Her name is Denise Pyles. Mrs. Dennis, how are you doing, ma?
I'm doing great. Okay, great to meet you and all your listeners.
Thank you so much, ma. Firstly, you are a writer, you are an author, you are a speaker, and you are also a micro mindfulness coach. Can you
Yes.
please, ma, discuss more about yourself and how you're doing currently now, ma?
Great. Thank you. Yes, I am an author. I just published the book Burn Without Burning Out: Seven Micro Mindfulness Habits for Clear Thinking, Decisive Action, and Recovery from Burnout. I tell my career story in that book, and I also talk about micro mindfulness, which is the same as mindfulness: how you are present in the moment, how do you show up in the moment. But these are short, brief activities that you can do, almost like habit stacking, placing them throughout your day to find meaning in your life, where ordinary moments become extraordinary just by being present. So that's kind of the background of who I am.
Thank you so much, Mrs. Dennis. And can you please discuss more on the book, which is Born Without Burning Out: Seven Micro Mindfulness Habits for Clear Thinking, Decisive Action, and Recovery from Burnout? And do you also have more books you are planning to write in the coming future, ma?
Yes, thank you. When I wrote this book, I was I belonged to a writing group to help me improve my writing skills. And I started out at some point in that writing moment, I asked myself this question, which is at the beginning of the book. And it says this: life keeps nudging me with this question. As an ordinary person, how will you spend your everyday life doing extraordinary, meaningful work with the time you have left? And in that question, I started reflecting on my own life. And then, based on my past career, I'm a former nun and I pivoted my career to corporate life. I currently do have a full time job at Microsoft and I write on the side. And in that reflection, I looked back on my life as a nun and what were those habits that helped me be focused, helped me make that pivot and be successful in my current corporate career. And those habits are really simple: being focused on what is essential for me, minding the moment that comes near me, pay attention, clear the chaos in my mind, listen, and then practice these micro mindfulness habits throughout, such as journaling, such as deep breathing throughout the day. And that's kind of what led to writing this book. And I really wanted to share it with other people so that they too, no matter where you are, you can take your ordinary day moments in your day and transform them into meaningful life and purpose.
Hmm. Thank you so much, Mrs. Dennis. And I heard something when you're talking. You said you are a former nun. I
Yes.
I am a Catholic. Is it a nun? What type of nun is that? Is it the nun I know or is another nun, ma?
Yes, I was a nun in the Roman Catholic tradition.
Okay.
I was a nun for 8 years, and
Wow.
I lived most of my career in church ministry and service. And uh, I was a nun for 8 years, and at some point I had health issues and I needed to leave the community. And so I made that decision to leave. And then I knew I needed to pivot to something else. And I had to work for corporate for financial reasons. And the company I wanted to work for was Microsoft. So that is, I tell that story in the first chapter of
Okay.
my book. You could also listen on the Audible version of the book.
Mm.
There's a sample, and that first chapter is the sample, I believe. The first few 5 minutes of the book is the sample that you could listen to for free on Audible if you'd like to.
Okay,
So,
I'll check that out on Audible. Thank you so much, ma. It's very inspiring. I'm
thank
also
you.
happy that I have once had someone that is once in on. Wow, it's like an opportunity. Thank you so much, ma. And you also said your mission is to empower others to find nurturing stillness within a distracted world. Can you please, ma, discuss more on your mission, ma?
Yes. I have this image. I thought about this based on an experience I had with my nieces and nephews one time. We went to a party and there
Okay.
was a ball pit, which is like you jump into these balls and they pop up. And that was also in a bouncy house. And sometimes life feels that way in our current world, that there's so much coming at us, our phones, distractions. And how do we stay centered and focused in the midst of everything coming at us in our world today? And stillness is one of those practices that can help you center yourself and ground yourself in the moment when it sometimes and often feels chaotic. And so part of these micro mindfulness practices that I have is, how do you just be quiet and still, even for 15 seconds? If you're not used to being quiet for a while within yourself, a minute can feel like an eternity. And so what I do is say, just take pause. I'll be the timekeeper. Let's take 10 seconds, take 15 seconds. And all you have to do is take a deep breath and just still your body for a moment in your chair and just listen what settles within you. And then over time, you want to build that. But maybe you say, I have a hard time sitting still. Okay, go for a walk and just take a minute, 1 minute as you walk. Don't listen to any music, just walk and pay attention. And over time, those habits can nourish you, and you'll see patterns in your life of how you can be focused and pay attention in what you really desire with your life, your purpose, your work. All of that becomes, over time, can help you become integrated and find meaning in those ordinary moments. So.
Hmm. Thank you so much, Mrs. Dennis. Thank you so much, ma. And I want to go to the point of micro mindfulness habits, ma. What exactly do you think are micro mindfulness habits? And how can you say it's possibly differ from traditional mindfulness practice, ma?
Yes. So let me tell you a story. When I was a nun, one
Yes.
of the nuns I lived with, she really practiced mindfulness and sitting in meditation for an hour, and invited all of us to join her for morning prayer. Well, I tried that for several weeks and I just could not be comfortable sitting that way, and I thought, I have to find another way to practice stillness. And so one way is, people who meditate can spend hours in meditation in a position to be still and to be focused. That's one way to practice mindfulness. What I've learned over my life is that the if I could do shorter moments, almost like exercise, there's a methodology in exercise
Mm.
called high intensity interval training, where you do short spurts of exercise. And science proves that over time you become fit. In a similar way with mindfulness, if you practice short, say, for example, breathing exercises for 1 minute. One time I invited my for a meeting. We had come from another meeting. We were all late, and I said, let's take 15 seconds of silence to make sure we're all in the room. And we did that. And one of the leaders of the meeting said, wow, I didn't know I needed that. Thank you. And then we went on with our meeting. But it was short. It was 15 seconds of intentional focus on our breathing, or can I be still? Maybe I need to take a rest and recharge. Can I go for 1 minute and walk outside and just breathe the fresh air, as an example? So the micro mindfulness concept came to me in talking with my friends about learning about micro mindfulness. And the Ariana Huffington of Huffington Post, she calls them micro steps, 1 minute micro steps of taking a minute when you get up in the morning. Don't grab your phone, but take a minute to sit in bed and just pay attention to your breathing and practice 1 minute of gratitude. I'm alive today. I'm going to face today. What is my intention? How do I want to live this day? 1 minute, and then move on to your day. So the sense of habit stacking those throughout your day, that's what I call micro mindfulness. It's almost like snackable moments of awareness in paying attention throughout your day.
Hmm. Thank you so much, Mrs. Dennis, and thank you so much for bringing it in details. Thank you so much, ma. And I want to go to probably daily routine, ma. How do you think someone can easily integrate this micro mindfulness habits into their, a lot of people are busy now, into their busy daily routine, ma?
Right. That's a great question, Adegoke. So just imagine waking up in your morning, like you wake up and say you're going to work. It's a
Mm-hmm.
work week. When you awake, again, just pause before you, if you hit an alarm clock or if you have your phone, that's the alarm, stop and pause and just take 1 minute again as you lie in bed to be focused on what are you facing that day. You can even do this the night before you go to sleep. What am I facing today? What is my intention? How do I want to show up at work? How do I want to live this day? To be kind to others. If I may be dealing with a difficult coworker, how can I be present to them? It's the sense of setting your mindset in the day. That takes 1 minute before you even get out of bed as a micro mindfulness. The other thing that a way you can practice is say you have several meetings in your day and you're going from one meeting to the next. And even if you're working fully remote or if you're in an office, it's a transition moment. Maybe you take transit, a bus or train to work, or you drive to work. Can you listen to music, or can you drive and just be focused on driving and nothing else? Or be in that transition moment, can you take a deep breath, or can you stop and say, before I sit down for my next meeting, I I want to focus on what's next, or take a deep breath, or at lunchtime, I need to take a break. Maybe before you have your lunch, you walk outside and walk around in the, or you just take a moment to, you have really nice plants. You take a moment to pay attention to the beauty of that nature. The other thing, if you eat lunch or you have a coffee break or tea break, sit and hold your cup of tea and just focus on the aroma, the scent, the actual practice of making a cup of tea, and say, can I be fully here just in this moment and let go of everything else and all the worry? Those are now, all of this is going on, and you didn't put one thing on your calendar to say, I got to practice micro mindfulness. But it's an intention and then follow through with the action of things going on in your day and finding those pockets of transition moments or giving yourself a break. The other thing, at the end of the day, I do this at the end of the day, I'm going to pivot. I work from home sometimes, I go into the office, I'm going to pivot from work to personal life. And I just sit at my desk, and right before I turn off the laptop and shut down, I do this ritual where I just make sure what's next, what's next, can I let it all go? And I sit and just place my hands on my desk and I take a deep breath and sigh out loud and imagine all of that's going to be sitting right here. I'm going to close the laptop and I'll get to it tomorrow. And so then it's that sense of mindful pivot and transition. And then I go throughout the rest of my day. And then at the evening, I take a moment to journal, 3 bullet points. Maybe I don't even like to write. I use on my app the day one journal on my phone. And I've taken photographs or things throughout my day, and I said, what's the one photo I've taken today that speaks of how I am? So I put that in my phone. Well, over time, I've got a whole month of photos that was my journal. Or over time, I have bullet points. And then at night, I just take a deep breath, meditate by sitting in bed, breathing in. Like, your breath is one of your best tools for mindfulness, focusing on your breath and breathe it all out and imagine letting it all go, sitting all my worries on the nightstand and knowing I'll get it tomorrow. And that's a typical micro mindfulness routine for me throughout the day. But these are activities that you can do during the day. And again, I didn't put it on my calendar. I was intentional and made sure, paid attention to those ordinary moments and the transitional moments in between.
Mm. Thank you so much, ma. And you personally still sound like a single mother. Are you still single?
Excuse me, say that again.
I said you still personally sound like a single mother. Are you still personally a single mother, or you're a mother now that you are married now and you have children of your own today, ma?
Yeah, no, I'm not, I don't have children of my own, but I am married and I was single. And it's the same, like in both lifestyles, I've been doing this, like in the sense that like it's interesting. When I was a nun, my desire
Mm.
was to serve the higher power greater than myself, and how I
Mm.
name my power greater than myself. to love. As a Christian, like my first commandment that I learned was God saying to me, "You shall love," and
Mm,
so I love. And how do I serve others? And even today, being married, being in a corporate position, my
mm,
focus, my core value is how do I love? How do I serve? How
mm,
do I be present? And realizing that how that sense of being a mindfulness coach and serving others is that we have finite time. We only have so much time on this earth. How do we live? How do you live your core value? Like, what is your
mm,
core essential? And how are you living it every day in those dull, ordinary moments, and in those moments that you find this wonder and awe? So it's, yes, it's like married life is chaotic, and it's a wild, crazy ride, and I love it. And being a nun was sometimes chaotic and stressful and this wild, crazy ride. But my focus in both has always been, how do I love? How do I serve? And how do I pay attention to the wonder of life before me? So those that's a great question. Thank you for asking that. So,
Thank you so much, Ma. And I just want to make you to explain a little bit when it comes to negative thoughts. There are a lot of negative, do you think micro mindfulness can help people break negative thoughts, Ma?
yes,
Okay.
I I write about positive self affirmations. But the other thing is understanding that within us, we have an inner critic and a positive voice. And I tell people I'm a recovering perfectionist. So I am very conscious of the voice that I listen to the most, that is most important, is what I tell myself inside of me. And mindfulness, when I get caught in that negativity, I hear it externally or I hear it internally. Mindfulness helps me say to myself, pause, stop. You are not the negative. Let go of that. You are love. You are rooted in love. And so the mindfulness teaches me to pause and acknowledge the negativity and then let it go. And then to really focus on, I am strong. I am centered. I am good. Life is more than the negative. And so that helps me. One of the micro mindfulness habits I mentioned in the book is to carry a symbol of meaning. Or like, for example, I tell the story of being at work one time, and there was, in the women's restroom, there was these positive notes of affirmation on sticky notes, with sticky notes on the wall and the mirror. You are strong. You got this. You can do this. And it was wonderful to see that as we were washing our hands. And that's kind of a way to combat the negative self-talk. The negativity is there and the good is there. And it's our choice to, who do we listen to? What voice do we pay attention to we lean into? And that micro mindfulness that says, pause, to myself, listen, there's a goodness inside me. That helps me combat the negativity. Great question. Thank
Mm.
you.
Thank you so much, Mrs. Dennis. And lastly, there might be some people who are probably struggling, to stay consistent with these mindfulness practices. So, what advice do you have for someone who could be possibly struggling to stay consistent with mindfulness practice, ma?
That's a great question. I believe Brene Brown, the writer, also talks about this. I see that very connected to our like inner voice and maybe negativity. If we're struggling
Mm,
internally, I know myself, I can be very hard on myself. And Brene Brown often says, imagine you're talking to yourself as that is your good friend. You wouldn't tell your good friend, oh, you're terrible, you're bad. You would tell your good friend, hey, I understand you're struggling. It's okay. Where you are is okay. And that sense of giving yourself grace, which means allow that I may not be at my best today, but how I'm showing up is okay. Or trusting that trusting myself and trusting others that we're doing the best we can today. It may not be our best work, but giving grace means allowing ourselves to be in the moment, no matter how we are, and to say, At this moment, I'm not at my best. And just to hold that with love, like within myself or a friend, to say, hold that in love and to say, now what can I do to take the next step that allows me to move toward the positive or allows me to be in that moment. And maybe it's grief, maybe it's loss, maybe it's financial struggle in the moment. But then what can I do to take the next step of dealing with that or just allowing myself to be okay in the moment. So again,
Hmm.
that's a micro mindfulness practice. I call it itself in the book called give yourself grace, practicing grace.
Hmm. And do you think children should be taught micro mindfulness habits more?
Did you say children?
Yes.
Yes, there are studies where children study micro mindfulness, I believe, at the age from 2 to 5.
Okay.
And one of them, I just heard them. Teaching children with their hand of how to like to slow down and breathe. And they'll say like trace your hand and breathe in, breathe out, breathe in, breathe out. And they would trace their fingers. So like there were studies that children they had done that at that age. And again, there was a sense of calmer presence in how they played and how they interacted. So micro mindfulness is a tool that you could start with children at a very young age, and you can carry that all throughout your life, even in an older age. It's one of those tools you already have it within you. If you've got the skills and the mindset and the tools, our senses are the one of the best tools to practice mindfulness. So we don't have to buy anything extra. We have it in us, and it's a mindset shift of saying, I have something within me that can help me deal with whatever I'm facing today.
Hmm. Thank you so much, ma. And lastly, there's a question I normally ask, ma. From the ancestors, from the forefathers, if there is anything you would like to bring back to our time today, what do you think that thing will be, ma?
Oh, that's an excellent question. That's the best question I've heard in a podcast. Thank you so much for asking that. For me, where I learned from my ancestors is in the stories, the storytelling, the sitting at a table or around a campfire growing up and hearing my ancestors, my grandparents, my stories about my great grandparents. And I believe that that's what makes us fully human, fully alive. And if we could carry anything from our ancestors into today, into our world and technology, is storytelling and being willing to sit with someone at a table around a campfire, sitting on a couch talking to each other, sitting on a porch or on a deck or outside together, telling stories. That to me is the gift. And I think mindfulness can help you because when you start telling stories, you lean in and listen and you're filled with wonder of someone's story and there's energy around that. And so that to me is one of the best gifts that we can bring from our ancestors and forefathers and foremothers and bring that into today's world. That would be, to me, that's the best gift that we can bring in our society today.
Hmm. And I completely agree with you, Mrs. Dennis. I want to personally thank you for your time, for your effort. Thank you so much for coming to my show. Thank you so much, Mrs. Dennis.
Thank you so much, Adegoke. Thank you for you and your listeners. I really appreciate this time. And if anyone needs to learn more where the book is, you can find it at Amazon globally. That's available for you. Thank you again. And I really appreciate all the best to you and asking your questions and keep being curious and keep learning and growing. Thank you.
Bye bye.
Bye.